Okay, I guess we're live. I could have waited a week to do this video. I suppose it's kind of neither here nor there. One of those ones that maybe nobody watches, but I pulled out a bunch of stuff and not going to be, sorry about the squeaky chair, not going to be comprehensive, but basically, in a nutshell, we're just reverting back mostly to what we were doing in May before I pared everything down to the Preppy Jazz only, more or less, clothes for, transitioning from, well, June is usually not a hot month, but this year June has been a hot month and July has been a hotter month. So we're, in it. It's summer. And that's that. And so, obviously we're trying to wear more linen, more seersucker. So if you don't know what seersucker looks like, I have one right here that I haven't worn yet, but you can see how it has that kind of puckered fabric, kind of that slubby texture to allow the air to breathe through or flow through or whatever. And then, of course, Madras. This one doesn't breathe quite as much. And I said I didn't like wearing it without a t-shirt underneath because of the seams, but I'm doing it. And, here we are. So, yeah, seersucker, but both really casual looking fabrics, obviously. Seersucker being maybe a little bit more comfortable in the warmer heat, but this still being an option. And linen, of course, which, I don't know, there's some in here I buried around in the stacks. So the big, addition going again back in May, we had military as an option, but I didn't really end up wearing that much actual military stuff. Again, it's more, military inspired. What does that mean? Well, it simply, sometimes it can just mean cargo pants. Sometimes it can mean, like a Boonie hat instead of, a more structured hat or a ball cap. I don't wear ball caps that much because I want more ear protection. At night, though, a ball cap is fine, for certain outfits, but in daytime too. But a lot of the ball caps I'm seeing now are polyester blend and that, or, all polyester and all that kind of thing instead of wool, yada, yada, yada. So I had whole videos about that, that you can check out. In the talking about baseball and football and that kind of thing last year. For more structured hats, then we'll talk about hats in a separate section. But if you don't know what a baseball hat is, right? Like something like this, and of course camouflage would be kind of a military touch. So for this time of year, I have a couple different camo options, but I don't wear camo with my outfits all that much. But, if I'm going hiking or something, then maybe. But I did have a couple things that I wore this spring that were more of the woodland pattern, Oh, hello, goodbye, viewer. Okay, wherever you were. Then, of course, here's linen. Well, this one I thought was linen, but it's actually cotton, but it will still get worn because it has that sort of open weave texture similar to linen that for some reason the camera wants to go blurry and you can't really see it. Maybe it'll show up better on this one. Whereas this one, a bit more linen. Yeah, there we go. You can see that kind of cross. Not exactly the same thing as canvas, but a plain weave usually, or not a cotton canvas, or not a heavy duty canvas, however you want to miss. So, but these are short sleeve shirts with epaulettes, which again can be Indiana Jones, but can be pilot, but also can be safari. So safari being an obvious summer choice, and then Aussie being kind of safari tinged, but more cowboy, typically in the Crocodile Dundee vein or whatever you want to, do it. Whereas like a true indie shirt or a safari shirt would be more of a lighter khaki. And of course, for pilot shirt, you can have white, you can have blue, you can have multi different colors. But right now, all the hills and things are this colors now, not green. So we've put away most of the green stuff, and we've got back out some of these shirts that I've been not wearing this past month because I've been wearing more, preppy shirts. Oh, hello and goodbye again, viewer, whoever you were. Okay. But this time of the year, also the mountain category, which in the fall, winter is the Paul Bunyan look, the heavy flannel. And I have one flannel here somewhere. It'll pop up soon. I know I brought it in, but I don't know where it went. But if you don't know what flannel is, it's, brushed cotton as opposed to a regular sport shirt, like this being a regular sport shirt that I would consider kind of safari, but also kind of mountain. It has the flap pockets, but it does not have epaulettes, this type of thing. But it does also have long sleeves, but it is also kind of airy material. So I've shown this one before. I've worn it a few times, but I haven't still worn it out yet. But so this is a nice versatile kind of piece for this type of thing, for kind of more evening wear than day wear because of the sleeves. Maybe hello again, goodbye again. Okay, I don't know. People are popping in and out. But so similarly, I showed a couple of camp shirts before. Here's another seersucker, but in a little more late summer, mid-late summer color that I had got out of storage already and just haven't worn yet. So now it'll be even more appropriate now that the holiday with the festive colors is kind of over. Those of you who weren't in on the whole, la-di-da patriotic flair thing, we're still in July, so we still have another week or two of, wearing those kind of more bold colors maybe. But for me, like I said, in the heat, I don't really want to wear dark blue very much, so I've been wearing, more light blue stuff and yellow, of course. This one, again, being kind of a heavier fabric than I want to wear going forward into the hotter days, but it did get a little bit of use here in the early summer. But it's another short sleeve camp shirt. Again, typically we're looking at like a single pocket. This one happens to have a button. No camp collar though, just a regular collar, but just casual kind of thing. Obviously, this one being a lighter weight one, I've shown this one before. Usually I would call this autumn colors, but since the shirt's so light and easy to wear and, 100-degree or whatever, definitely going to be wearing that one instead of the yellow one. And along those lines, we have these four all in a row. So this one that I've shown before that does have the camp collar that I haven't worn yet. The material I think is a little thicker, but I'll probably try and get away with it because again, it's transition-y autumn-y, but I think for midsummer it's also fine. This one, the fabric a little heavier, but the pattern definitely in the same kind of color scheme. Not quite autumn yet. I think this one's a go-to sooner than later. And here's a long. Oh, there it is. Here's a long sleeve linen. Now this color being the British khaki instead of the regular khaki. Again, also a little dark, a little more almost autumn maybe than midsummer. Depends on if I really want a long sleeve thing because I couldn't always get the colors I wanted and the configurations I wanted and da-da-da. So sometimes it's a compromise, like, okay, that's a little darker than I might want for this time of year. But sometimes I do want sleeves to, feel like I'm not going to get sunburned on my arms or whatever. And like here's the flannel or one. This one's old and beat up, but you can see that twill texture, but a little warm for this time of the year. But this one's missing the sleeves. So kind of still a mountain thing, maybe kind of, Aussie cowboy again, that sort of thing. Like I said, I didn't really bring in pants. I brought in one pair of shorts. So I guess I'll talk about shorts after I finish talking about shirts. I didn't do the part 1, part 2, part 3 thing because it's mostly going to be shirts and hats. I can talk about boots and shoes by bringing a bunch of them to show them off. So again, in the cowboy vein, typically the big difference can be the snaps instead of the buttons, the contrast yokes for your shoulders and sometimes your back. This being a nice lightweight one, again, with the patriotic thing, I tried to wear this a little bit before I phased out cowboy stuff for preppy stuff. But in July, August, am I really going to be wearing, tall boots with shorts? Probably not, but I do have a couple boots that I do want to wear to break them in a little bit before autumn, like the Dan Post ones, the black ones that I got. These ones I don't have to worry about as much. The ARE ones, I might try to wear some more, but it's not like an emergency. Again, similar to this, kind of lighter weave, though I had that long sleeve one that I've had for a long time from JCPenney. This one gets rotated in and out, but again, the colors are a little darker, but the fabric is really super light and breathy and breezy and breathable and breezy. That's what I meant to say. So another one that I, can wear for the sleeves, and I've worn this hiking before and it's been fine. But it is still a little bit warmer than some of the other ones. But again, a blue plaid, what's more, blue collar American working guy color than that? Not much, but not always. But it can also be kind of a nautical vibe. Whereas in the preppy category, we still, of course, have different varieties of polo and rugby shirts. So I broke this one back out. Again, kind of more of an autumn vibe. Probably won't get worn, but the option's there. And similarly, we have this one instead of the powder blue one that I had showed before and wore a few times. I was trying to do a comparison contrast of brands with polo shirts. So I broke out that LL Bean one. That one, what I had noticed, I didn't bring it in here, but it had a similar flimsy collar, kind of a ribbed collar, but it had a lot more fabric up under here in the above the yoke area. So I didn't like that as much. It was kind of heavy there. I tried to lie down for a half an hour or whatever in that shirt, and I was like, okay, no, switched it to a t-shirt and went back and had my little cat nap or whatever. And then put the shirt back on when I got up, kind of thing. So yeah, it does have a bit of extra fabric kind of going on right where I don't necessarily want extra fabric, but I guess to reinforce the neck, since the collar wasn't a heavier duty fabric, maybe that's why they chose to do that. But overall, again, the fabric maybe a little thicker than this, so maybe a little bit warmer, but maybe a little more durable. So again, how I'm going to try and do a head-to-head with those to get an even amount of wears and washings is, kind of not really going to happen. I'm just going to wear them when I wear them and see how they do. But like I said, I expect it to be a little more durable than this brand. But also, I've had this Van Heusen one for 800 billion years, and it's lasted forever, and I show it every year. But I don't wear it that much every year. I end up wearing it a couple times, and I didn't wear it this spring yet. Maybe I did once. I don't remember. I don't think so. But this one usually gets worn a little bit. But I'm not really a polo shirt guy, so I don't know why I have 20 of them. I just always like to see the colors. But some of the colors I wear more than others. And then again, another one that's kind of a compromise. It's kind of an autumny color. I have other linen shirts that I could wear, and this one is a cotton blend, so it's a little bit 53 linen, something like that. No, 59. No, 53. Yeah, 47% cotton. So again, an option, kind of safari-ish, just a casual shirt, but. For those of you who are like afraid that linen gets too crazy, I haven't really had that problem so much with the shirts. I do have some linen pants, and I haven't worn them that much. So I expect that the pants would probably get more wrinkle prone than the cotton. Oh, well, yeah. And I have the canvas LO Bean ones. This one's a camo that I can wear, but it's already kind of too hot for this. This one's a long sleeve, I think, whereas some of the short sleeve ones I might wear because they're kind of durable for hiking if I really want something a little more rugged. But I also have these Cabela's ones that I got a long time ago. This one's, again, another more autumny kind of color, but I keep meaning to wear it anyway. It has the pocket button flaps, same as the Bean one. Short sleeve, same as the Bean, but a much lighter fabric weight. But of course, I also have it in green, I think, somewhere, and khaki. So these khaki ones will be, I've worn at least one of these before, I think. And usually they show damage if I've hiked in them, but maybe it was the other one I wore. I don't know. But yeah, I have these ones as well. So again, kind of a safari look, except without the epaulettes. And we've got the double patch flap pockets going on. But this is, yeah, a little bit lighter weight of a canvas. So a little more breathable, but not, again, going to, be as rugged if you're, worried about that. And of course, I doubt that Cabela still makes anything like this. So lucky me, I still have those ones. Whereas these ones that I really liked, they discontinued the crap out of these. I'll talk about this one in a minute. The first, this one, fans of the channel will recognize this one as being one of my kind of mountain indie shirts. Another long sleeve one that's a little heavier weight, not so much as great for the warm weather, but this one I wore in Yosemite and did fine there. But it was earlier in the year, and there was still snow up on the peaks and stuff, so it wasn't, super warm. So another one that's kind of an autumn shirt. So it may or may not get used. This one, the Cabela's did the cape back before they made everything nylon with the thing, the Velcro and the mesh underneath. These were the perfect shirts, and unfortunately, most of the ones I got were in the medium size, so they don't fit me now. This is one of the rare large ones that I still have, but it's one of their angler fishing shirts, and of course it has flat pockets, but with Velcro instead of buttons. And the only problem with hiking in this was I tend to wear a shoulder harness, and so if you use a bladder for your water or something like that, then it kind of defeats the purpose of the cape and sort of adds an extra layer that you almost don't want or need. But the mesh is supposed to, wick your sweat or whatever. And of course, it has the pull tab sleeve roller feature things that, again, for Yosemite, I had tried to add something similar to this that worked okay, but I put it on the outside instead of the inside, so it's kind of ugly. But it worked. So yeah, another feature that I didn't think I would like so much, because a lot of times you have that trailer thing hanging down your arm that never wants to stay straight and all that. But when you actually do want to roll up your sleeves, it tends to hold them in place pretty well. And of course, this just has regular cuffs, nothing too exciting going on there. And regular button collar, not a camp collar, and a locker loop thing, and yeah, overall, these are the best. I'm one of these days I'm going to take this to the tailor and have her make some bigger ones that will fit me in some other fabrics or some other colors or something. This fabric was pretty good. It might still be a little bit warm, but it might still also be a little too lightweight, again, if you wanted something more rugged. So you could kind of go back and forth. But where to get this mesh stuff, I don't know. So she could have that. I don't know. I guess you could just leave the mesh out and just have the cape back, and it'd probably work just as well. Because if you're, if you're wearing something on your back, then like the mesh and the fabric are all going to be smashed together, and it's not going to wick that much more than just having a sweaty back, already. So like, and your backpack's going to, be absorbing the sweat. It's not going to be evaporating anywhere mysterious or miraculous. Again, a cap collar, the hula shirt. I have hula shirts that aren't so bright and, you know, early summery. I've still got a couple here that can fit the overall ambiance of the dead vegetation and all that kind of thing, and match with, again, camo patterns. You know, I'll talk about in a minute. And of course, kind of more safari, a little more robust version, but this one in a ripstop fabric, which there it goes. You can see the little grid pattern. That's supposed to keep it from shredding as easily as some of the other fabrics. Like the yellow beam canvas will rip if you catch it on the right thing. This supposedly will rip less. I don't know. I still think it's less durable than a true, you know, a heavier canvas, but then it's a hotter shirt. So, you know, again, what's going to be perfect? I don't know. I try not to snag my linen items on anything. Books got mixed around. Then downshifting from camp shirts and all that sort of thing. Of course, we have t-shirts and tank tops. I didn't bring in any tank tops. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, I brought in tank tops. I didn't bring in, no, I guess I didn't bring in the tank top. I meant to bring in the tank top. English, I speak it. Okay, so yeah, they have, or also the baseball shirt, kind of a classic Americana, kind of 3/4 sleeve deal. This one, of course, has, you know, my Beach Boys album cover that didn't transfer correctly, but it goes okay with the sleeve color. This is the kind of, you know, thing that I don't wear out in public all that much, but oh, oops. Forgot about the cowboy shirts first before we talk about t-shirts some more. Again, a lighter weight sports shirt, but not as breezy, breathable. This one a little bit more, but I think this one's a poly blend. A lot of the cowboy shirts are polyester and poly blend. Yeah, this is one of those made in China retro thingies that's more polyester than it might be worth, whereas this is all cotton. This one being the Wrangler one that is almost a mesh, so it's even a lighter, breezier weave than some of the linen ones. But again, flimsy, you know, not one you necessarily want to take out in the woods, but definitely looks cowboy with this autumn-y kind of plaid again. But of course, most of the cowboy stuff typically looks the best with, you know, 501 denim jeans. And I don't want to wear 501 denim jeans in August, like almost ever. So, you know, what I will pair this with that will look cowboy enough, maybe some canvas pants or something like that, depending on the situation. It's long sleeve, but I can still wear a long sleeve with shorts once in a while and not feel too weird about it, depending on what the shorts are like and, you know, the color and the da-da-da and da-da-da. But again, if I'm going to wear more of a cowboy hat, I have some straw ones. I have some, you know, so something like that still with this shirt. And instead of the trucker hat, but I also have some trucker hats. So then, of course, I still have some of the tropical wear that I had been neglecting. So stuff like this will be hitting the scene, as it were. And of course, this one having a tropical front, but a total surfboard back. So of course, and of course they're white. So, and of course light khaki with sort of another kind of tropical design. But this one, again, kind of a camo crossover. I had another new one that I got with birds also that has like a camo back, and then the parrot or macaque or whatever. Macaques are monkeys, I think. Okay. And then, of course, another old favorite. I didn't break out every single Surfle shirt that I have, but the you know, the Charlie Brown stuff that I wear a couple times but don't want to wear out. They're more souvenirs than used shirts these days. And then again, of course, it's here somewhere. I buried it under this other junk. So, okay, that was part one. I'm showing kind of late, but for those of you who are scrolling ahead because you got bored in the future, because nobody's watching now, part two, again, I talked about pants briefly, wherever I threw them. They're in here somewhere. Oh, there. So again, cargo pants. These are the LL Bean Tropic weight ones, which again, I like the button flap on the pockets, but if I don't get a flap, having a button through is kind of standard on a lot of khaki pants, but a lot of khaki pants are too heavy for this time of the year. These are not too bad. Again, I have some linen pants. I don't wear them daily very much because they're kind of more dressy. Did I switch to, what did I do? I should part two, right? Yeah. Jeans, almost never. I do have like one pair of denim shorts that I wear a bit. This year, I'm wearing these heavier twill cargo shorts. They also have the similar ones in the pants that I put away already for the duration because they're just too thick. But in shorts, it's not as bad. But I have two pairs in this color that I'm basically trying to wear out because they're all faded and don't look great anymore anyway. So there's no real reason to try to keep them around for another season when I already have similar ones in other colors. And I think powder blue might be one of the colors I sort of phase out in the. Although I do wear it a lot in June. The rest of the time, I'm like, I'm a little more meh on that as a statement. So again, I still have Snoopy, and I still have a couple other things, but not a bunch. And I guess this cowboy shirt is technically that color too, but it's one of a kind, and I'm really trying to make this one last. But I do have a seersucker one in this similar color that I didn't take out of the bag again this spring, and it's going to stay in the bag until next year after all, because I have so many other shirts, it doesn't matter. So that color, I'll wear that one a bit, but like I said, I'm not trying to wear that one out because it's such a nice shirt for this time of year that it's a double-edged sword. I want to wear it, but I don't want to, lose it because it's one of the few. And of course, similarly, it's backpedaling back into shirts that I show every time is, of course, the bean. This is meant to look like the typical Oxford cloth button down, but it's actually 100% linen that I got a few years ago. And so something like this I will probably wear for sure, finally. And of course, then I have it in a solid in the, again, powder blue. But yeah, also linen. If it'll show the tag. Okay, it doesn't want to cooperate. It says linen. I think it almost focused right before I pulled it away. So another one in that light blue color that's more preppy than safari. And which brings us, yeah, I think you get it about pants and shorts. Oh, it's only been 30 minutes. It's not terrible. We're almost done. So, like I said, part 3, I guess we'll do footwear briefly, very briefly, because I didn't bring most of it in, like I said. So for mountain, again, we have, heavy-duty boots if I really, really want, but I also have lighter boots that I can wear. I have a couple different pairs of cowboy boots that I might wear, but they don't really usually get worn with shorts. The Roper ones. I think you could wear with shorts and nobody would really question it because they're the lower height, not the 12 or 13, but I don't think that, oh, I forgot to show the other cargo shorts, but it doesn't matter. These are the hiking shorts. I don't know. I'm discombobulated today. I'm trying to rush for no reason. But yeah, these are canvas. Just canvas shorts with smaller cargo pockets. And these ones were from Bass Pro, whereas I also have them from Blair, and almost the exact same thing. They have a few different colors and that kind of thing. But the cargo pockets on these are kind of just a waste of time. They're not, big like the military ones or whatever. So yeah, footwear. Obviously, we have boat shoes, topsiders, the driving mocks, the canvas sneakers, the Converse or the Vans, some other versions. Loafers, if you really wanted to. I have like one pair of loafers and I never ever take them out of the box. So probably not loafers here, but an option. I have other dressy things. I showed them all off last year when I first got them or whatever. There's unboxing videos and all that of ones that I got from Stacey Adams and Florsheim and I forget who else. I don't have Sperry. Sperry don't come in my size. So mostly I have LL Bean, blah, blah, blah. If you're new to this channel, you're the one person who doesn't know that I've done a billion footwear videos. So everybody else, you've already probably seen all those videos. So that's why I didn't bother to bring in all the shoes. So again, yeah, jumping ahead to part 4 then. And we'll talk about headwear and hats for the next, 10 minutes or less. So as I was saying, the Boonie hat being, I guess we'll start with the Boonie hat, and then we'll go back to other things. Obviously, this one a little bit more of an autumn color, but it'll fade. But I wear these less now when I go hiking because I usually wear more of the mesh hats or the felt hats, depending on the time of year. But I still have 60 or something of these because I got a bunch of them in different colors and brim shapes and all that kind of thing. Like this one, the brim is a little bit smaller, so I only use this for wearing around the house most of the time, not actually hiking because it doesn't cover that much. So if I'm going to get the mail, I throw on something like this where there's not that much brim and fine. And then of course this one was one of those 2-for-1 specials from Sportsman's Guide in the ugly color that nobody wanted. So this color, I meant to wear this spring and I didn't really get around to it that much, but I have some shorts and hats and things of this that I'm definitely going to throw into the rotation and keep the other camo patterns nice and just use up this because there's no resale value here. These are I just bought them because they were, 2 for $20 or whatever the deal was. Whereas the engineer caps, I don't wear these around as much as I used to. But a long time ago when I had buzzed off all my hair, this was the only type of hat that was comfortable for me because this one has more of a seam. I don't know. The one I had back then was a real one that my friend gave me from the Navy. And I wore that hat constantly because it was the only comfortable hat I had. My other friend was always, "Oh, why are you wearing that hat? You look stupid in that hat." I was like, I don't care. This is the perfect hat. So I still have a couple of these, but I don't wear them, out and about much. Whereas a lot of the ones that you find have this plastic junk still, and it's super uncomfortable in almost every application. And this one has the plastic and the heavier fabric. So I got this at a gas station just to get it, and it was $5. But I have barely ever worn it since. Whereas this one I think I got from Sportsman's Guide, and it was one of their. They had some other ones where the brims disintegrated before I even wore the things. They were, I don't know, from Czech Republic or someplace, or Poland maybe, I don't remember. And they did not last even in storage. Whereas whatever this kind is, it's been doing okay, just hanging out. But I don't wear it that often yet. But this is the time of the year when I might wear these. Again, I kind of bought them more just to have different camo patterns than I needed more ball caps, but it was like 12 years ago or something. I've had them for a while. And then, yeah, this one, same thing. I saw this one at the surplus store, and it was obviously a misprint or something, but it also has another plastic fastener. So ever since all the better fasteners came out, these things just sit in my garage and wish that they got worn. But again, more of the duck hunter look from the 50s or whatever, the post Korea. Kind of a hodgepodge of, I don't know which one is the more true Marine Corps colors. Maybe both were used at some point, but this obviously a defect that I've shown before. Then for a while they were coming out with this kind of more experimental camo pattern. I kind of liked the fact that I could put the patch on there, but I don't know where the patch is right now. I bought some patch for it, but I can get the tag out of the way. But see, a Velcro closure, so more comfortable option, and probably a little more adjustable if you're going to get nitpicky, instead of, you know, where the little dots line up is almost always never in the right place. It's always either a little too tight or a little too loose. You could have a little better adjustment with this. I have some that have like a slider on the back, and that almost never stays put though. I kept trying to like sew it together and find way and tape and trying to find ways to keep the thing from going too loose every time I put it on, whereas the Velcro is pretty good. I recommend this kind of thing more than this kind of thing, just saying. And the plastic really can break and fail you at critical times, and then you're trying to figure out how to get your hat to stay on. So this one, same thing, Velcro on the tab there, and this came with a flag already on it, so I didn't have to scramble to find patches or anything. And just a different camo that, you know, that new tactical kind of looking stuff or whatever. Yada yada yada. Then of course there's always the flat cap. You'll often see me wearing a wool version of this. That finally I probably won't be wearing many wool ones, but this one's ripstop, and this was from Duluth, I think, but probably discontinued it. Lightweight cotton, and doesn't have the. It doesn't say Duluth, but I think it's from Duluth, and it doesn't have elastic. Some of them will have like an expanding thing. Some of the baseball hats I got last year have that. They still either too tight or too loose usually. So if you get them with the elastic, you're hoping they kind of relax before the elastic craps out entirely. So, but this one fits. Yay. And okay, so then moving ahead to the, again, structured hats, or more structured hats. I'm not, you know, showing like every single hat, every single style of hat, but again, being the hot months, we have the ultra breezy, you know, doesn't hold its shape kind of thing, which I got this in 2 colors, and this being the worst color, and it did not really survive in the car when I drove to Texas. The brim got kind of mucky and never really went back to its proper shape that well. And, you know, it is what it is. It was not expensive. So if I just want a little bit of sun protection, I might take the fabric off and put it on my other safari hat, which, yeah, it's in here. Okay, I took off the brim, what I call the sweat bucket. I'll talk about the sweat bucket in a minute. So this one, I finally I took the string out to put it in a different hat, and I don't remember which hat. It's in the garage somewhere, but this one's basically on its last legs. It used to be brown, chocolate, in fact, and now it's this kind of yellowish, greenish gray from sun and sweat and use and whatnot. So I think I'll be retiring this one come autumn. I'm definitely putting him, you know, top of the list to get a lot more wear before I cash him out entirely. Whereas this one, where the string I took out of this one, is a spring hat that is nylon that I wear if there's going to be rain and such. But The wind can grab it and try and take it, so I haven't been wearing it that much, but I do still wear it fairly often when I want just a really junky, beat up hat to go sweat in and do chores or whatever. But again, nylon, not my favorite first choice for hot weather. Whereas this is, plastic, but at least it's, a lot less nylon than this. So these two still here. This one, again, I won't look at this one too much before spring again. But I'm not retiring it yet because it hasn't fallen apart yet. But I do have a newer version of it that I bought a long time ago that I haven't even worn yet. So maybe next year I'll retire this one finally too. Similarly to that, what I was talking about or alluding to earlier is, of course, this more of an Australian version. It has the waterproof coating or whatever on the brim, but not here on the crown, but on the top. But of course, I don't usually need the oil skin because I don't have wet weather. And if I do have wet weather, I have different hats that are not the mesh that I could wear. But again, if you want, a more Aussie look, more safari than indie, again with the bigger crown and the teardrop and the yada yada. The chin strap does do the go around the back thing, same as the last two, which really helps keep it on as much as possible. So I do like this. So like I was saying, with some of the nicer hats, I might add that second hole. You can't see it on the outside because it's under the strap on this one, but even a couple of the expensive hats, I might take it to a hat guy and see if he can puncture a second hole without destroying the felt, just so I can do that because it does help quite a bit. Of course, I've made videos about these before, but if you're new, you haven't seen it, so you don't know. Whereas the Akubra thing, this breakaway doohickey, like I'm afraid to even wear it in a heavier wind already. We've had some pretty good wind so far this spring, and I have not wanted to lose that hat down the street that cost, 5 times more than that other one. Similarly, of course, then we have like the mesh, the Gandalf hat. This one doesn't have the double holes, but these doohickeys do cinch up pretty high without being uncomfortable. I'm, choking. I still have this in 3 colors. This one I haven't actually worn yet. So this could be the year that this color finally gets worn. But again, I'm going to try and wear that, what's left of a brown one, a lot before I worry about it. But this has the widest brim of anything I own. And Henschel has one that's similar, but I don't think the brim is quite as wide. I think it's close. But I didn't order that one because I already had this one. Again, this one from Duluth. I don't know if Duluth still offers this. And they fit reasonably well. They're a little bit tight and not adjustable. So your results may vary. But of course, if it's a little loose, you can typically wear a bandana or some kind of headband. Those terry cloth ones might work. The tire straights, basketball style ones. I never tried that hiking, but I used to have a couple of them lying around. Then, speaking of Aussie stuff, I did talk about how I tried to finish making my Crocodile Dundee hat in time for the Aussie transition, but wool felt, not an August hat. So I might not worry about it, right away, trying to finish sewing it. Crikey. Good eye, Sheila. So then we have the one that I've been wearing, and I might swap it out for the khaki one, but again, I also have that brown one. So I've been wearing this green one. This was the Henschel one that was the China version, not the America version. Again, they had changed the crown height slightly, so it's not as high as it used to be. they've made this leather so it sweats a bit more than I think the fabric band did. I tried to see if I could remove this and replace it with something else, and it seemed like it would be possible, but it would be more trouble than it's worth. It does have the same basic plastic mesh as the Magellan. Not a lot, but this one doesn't have the vent holes, which of course are a joke feature on the other hat, because it's like, it's already ventilated. Why did you put Boonie hat vents on the side? I know I didn't show that, but again, also only the single hole for the chin strap. And again, this one had solved that problem. So you can put the string through the back. So again, a feature that I prefer. So one day will I add a second hole here? Maybe, but for now it's fine. So I've been kind of going between this one and the sweat bucket. I took the other hat band off the sweat bucket. I only just put this leather one on there, and it's not staying on there forever. It doesn't even want to stay on there that much when I'm storing it, because you can see it's slipping off already. But the sweat bucket being almost perfect for a lot of the wind we were having this, even though it doesn't have the back string. The thing's a little tight on me, but it doesn't grab the wind like this one does. So when I'd go out and the wind was already trying to take this hat off, I'd go right back in and just put this one on. And this color, of course, being spring color more, or maybe autumn if I'm, feeling it, but not really a midsummer color. So I think this one's going to finally get put away, and I might get the khaki one out of the box that's more similar to this twill fabric. You can see it's got some sweat stains. I showed this in a previous video in the hat talk. And this one has this rawhide string that doesn't work as good for staying in place. But definitely a true safari-ish hat, but no ventilation again. And it does have the pinup Aussie feature, but of course the snap's in the wrong place, because it should be higher where you can actually snap it instead of way down here where it doesn't stay. But it is what it is. And of course it looks terrible when it's rolled like that. And why you would ever want to do this, I don't know. I'm not left-handed, so I'm not marching in a formation where maybe, I don't know if that's why that's on the left-hand side. But I don't have a real Aussie Army one either. But this one has a slightly different crown shape. So like I said, when I got that Indiana Jones hat, the Akubra Adventurer, I might bash it to look a little bit more like this one than some others. We'll see how that goes again in a few months. Well, people just click on this and click right back off. Well, glad to sort of see you. And hello and goodbye. Anyway, I call this one the sweat bucket because, like I said, it doesn't breathe. So you can see it's getting a lot more sweat stains now than it had sitting in the other room for 10 years or more. So yeah, finally getting some use out of this one, but I doubt that I'll get that much use out of this in the next month because it will be way too hot to wear that hat. Then we have, of course, the more traditional. I guess we'll do this one first. This is basically the same kind of thing with a smaller brim. But this is a Dorfman Pacific that I kind of like. That is a much better version of this cheap piece of thing. Again, I don't know if I'll ever actually be able to wear this as a serious hat. This one, on the other hand, almost the same crown shape as the sweat bucket, but a little less noticeably pronounced. And it is, not sure exactly what material this is, but some kind of straw, hemp or something. 100% jute. Okay, whatever jute plant is. So I did an unboxing and I talked about Bailey hats versus Dorfman hats, and I talked about Henschel hats versus Dorfman hats or whatever. So you can watch those videos from 2 months ago or whenever it was. But yeah, just not as big of a brim. A little bit of ventilation though, and then of course a more open weave. So not entirely see-through, but just a nice lightweight thing. Again, not one I'm going to take hiking because I don't have a chin strap and I don't have a wider brim, but a great, around town, around the house kind of elevated look hat, where this one cost way more, or a bit more in today's dollars. So I don't necessarily want to wear this one as much and get it ruined, whereas this, I am definitely not worried about. This. It's as robust as burlap without being as itchy, I guess, or I hope, right? And of course, I have that light tan one that is more similar to the sweat bucket one without the ventilation and stuff. I call that a mountain hat, though. It's kind of a traditional fishing hat, and I didn't bring it in here. And I also have these trilby kind of things. This one's still a fedora. I've worn this in a couple videos with a nice open vent with the crown. So a little more elegant version of this. So again, if I'm, not something I want to necessarily sweat in too much or damage or whatever, whereas this is a hardier weave, can take a bit more abuse. So I like it. And like I said, sooner or later I'll wear it. And then, of course, I have stuff like this that's not really that elegant, but definitely not super sweaty. Another Dorfman one that I've had for years. Or Scala. Sorry. I keep confusing Scala and Dorfman. I don't think they're the same company. Scala. But I always confuse those two for some reason. Because they had similar labels, I thought. So jute instead of felt on deck, and this for fun and giggles. And so then of course we have, like I said, straw versus felt cowboy hats. I've been trying to wear this in the morning when it's not too windy, and just to get it to form in my head. I haven't really been wearing the straw ones out much because, again, I've been wearing more preppy stuff than cowboy stuff. So this one has a lining, and so a lot of people will say that that'll make your head sweatier. Some linings, I don't know, might be better than others, but they're pretty much almost always synthetic fabric. This one has the bow, but the bow doesn't annoy me. I have that other Stetson one where for some reason they put a plastic ball on the end of the bow and it just jabs you in the back of the head and makes you feel itchy for 10 minutes after you took the thing off. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to remove that. But this one, the sizing was pretty close to accurate, whereas a lot of the Stetson ones seem to run small. And what was the other brand? Resistol. I didn't end up owning a Resistol felt hat yet, and I didn't end up owning a Saratelli felt hat yet, but I thought they were both decent. But the Resistol, actually, out of all the brands, I think might be the best overall for the value for the money. Maybe they offer a decent amount of colors, but they don't offer a lot of different shapes and that kind of thing. But I bought the Bailey one instead because it was $100 less or whatever the deal was, and it's fine for now. And I was able to get the lighter tan color that Stetson doesn't seem to want to offer. And then, of course, the Akubras. I have a couple different Akubras now. Again, they say they're a sun hat and, and this and that, but to me, a felt hat is still a felt hat. That's kind of a no-go for me in August, but I've been wearing it a bit in the mornings, kind of trying to alternate them, but I can't wear this one that much because, again, the wind. If there's wind at all, I need a chin strap most of the time. So, but this chin strap, again, being the breakaway thing that I'm not that confident to trust it to a $300 and something hat or whatever. Whereas this hat costs less, but stays on okay if there's not a lot of wind. But again, both of them a little warm for this time of year. When again, something like this or this or this, oops, Or I threw the other one too far away. Oh, yeah. This being more of a go-to plan. So that was quite a bit of talk about hats, but whatever. Without getting too specific into, price ranges and all that kind of thing. Again, if you're getting felt, it's kind of what you want to spend for what you want to achieve. I know I'm not going to wear felt hats that much when it's not winter, so I'm not buying any $800 beaver pelt versions, but the rabbit felt, I didn't bring any of the wool felt ones in, did I? No. Yeah, the rabbit felt, it is a little bit more pleasant to still wear on, a summer morning. The wool felt ones I'm not even looking at right now. Oh, the crocodile Dundee one. You can see that, again, it's a thicker texture, a bit. But the Akubra's, the felt is kind of it's a smidge thinner and a little less rigid, but not by a lot. This is pretty similar. And this was what they called a 5X, but the X's don't translate from brand to brand again. So money wise, the Stetson ones were you could find ones that were cost more but would be similar to this. But if you wanted a specific shape or color or something, you'd kind of like cough up the extra dough just to get the dark green, that kind of thing, more than necessarily getting a different by much felt quality. Like I'd say these are fairly comparable, and this one costs more. But again, I wanted that big brim. I mean, this has a big brim too if I wanted to really flatten it out and change the crown shape. But it doesn't have vent holes, which I don't know how much that helps, but it seems like it helps. Can you turn that crown into that crown easily? I don't know. Like I said, I tried shaping a couple of the hats, and I had limited success, but they were also wool felt, not rabbit felt. So maybe the rabbit felt shape's easier than this, because this is about the best I could come up with. But it does look more like the Mick Dundee shape. And his hat looks kind of beat up and used anyway, so I wasn't trying to make it perfect. Same with what I ended up with the Clint Eastwood drifter kind of hat. But again, the brim a little more floppy, the hat, crushable, all that kind of thing. And this at the time probably cost me like $80. So, not totally, useless, but hot for this time of the year. Okay. Oh, are you okay? Yeah. What seems to be the problem? I'm just doing a video, and it's running long as always. But I'm done. I think I ran through everything. So if you had any actual questions, hurry up. As always, you can buy the coffee or the pizza or whatever on that app or that I enabled. I love people like this because, okay, where's your video? Do you have anything useful to tell me? No, apparently not. Okay. As always, boycott Tinder. Those kind of fraud apps just take your money and give you nothing in return. That is, and their employees are horrible and toxic most of the time, as far as we can tell, and just laughing all the way to the bank and possibly getting replaced by AI soon enough. Whereas AI probably won't do as good of a job as telling you why coconut and jute are different or something. I don't know. So hopefully I'm still around making stupid videos that people might enjoy. But yeah, it's, summer. So obviously I'm not taking this that seriously when it comes to, fashion statement or whatever. I'm just trying to be comfortable in the outfits that look you know, some specific way or whatever along the themes pre-described by my own predilections, la-di-da-di-da.